So in this particular update of HardOps, you will now be able to bring up the Control helper, and the constraint helper will actually function just like the constraints that you would normally deal with on the other side of Blender. Of course, whenever we deal with our pop-ups, we don't get access to the eyedropper, but just letting users know that we also now support the ability to deal with your constraints from the helper, as you see me doing here. Previously, it was locked to the bone constraints, which I'm not sure why that was going on, but we'll just map this from the location of Z from, let's say, 0 to 0.5. And we want to map this to Z to the x-axis, so that's going to be this one, and we want to set it to 180. And by unchecking map 2, we can see that it collapses. The way that we draw our constraints is a little bit different from the way that you see them drawn in the actual helper itself, where we see that these are expandables. So it does give me the idea that maybe we could probably draw a different version of this that's more optimized for our needs of setting up this particular type of constraint, because I find myself doing it a lot. But that aside, back to the matter at hand. So we see that the constraint didn't quite work out, and that's because we need to set this to rotation and then give it something like 180, so that way we're rotating at 180 and not translating at 180. So from here, we'll look at everything in top view, press B, draw a box around everything, select our main empty that we've given these constraints to, and we could press spacebar, just type in copy constraint to selected objects. Now everything is constrained, and we have all these dotted lines connecting it. In the event that you don't like these dotted lines, you can just turn off relationship lines, which is something I like to do. But now whenever we move this up, we see that all of them are rotating. So I've just been doing this example lately, just being a little random. But to show in action how I rebuilt the rest of the torus, I'll just press Control G to make this a collection, and we'll just call this part torus. And from here, we can just Shift A and bring in part torus, and let's press R, snap at 10. Looks like all we have to do is snap at 10 because of the amount of segments. Let's grab all 3 of these, R, snap. Looks like increment snap's going to be good to us. Sometimes when you get your increments just right on your divisions, you'll be able to just get in and rotate them just like you're seeing me do at this time without having to contemplate the in-between numbers. So I'm just selecting this one instance that wasn't needed. And another thing is we can just hide this empty at this time, press B, box select everything, right click, choose to lower our empty size for these collection instances, because there's no need for us to have these little sticks sticking all the way out in space. We'll shrink them down, press Alt H to reveal our empty, and basically this is what we created. So a little random, but I don't know, just a little fun with constraints. I'm always contemplating the next thing I could be doing with constraints because they're just so fun inside of Blender. But just letting you know that in the event that you're dealing with constraints, Control tilde will now allow you to deal with object constraints on the fly, similar to how you would normally do in the constraint panel.